What's going on, guys? So we're going to find out what it would cost each NHL team to trade for Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin. If you guys didn't see it last week, the CEO of the Dallas Stars, Jim Lites, actually came out, held a press conference just to rip into Seguin and Benn, the two best players on the team, the two faces of the franchise, saying, and I quote, "They are effing horseshit. I don't know how else to put it. These guys are not good enough. They're not good enough for me, owner, blah, blah, blah." Basically, he just ripped into them hard, saying the Stars aren't good enough right now and it's their fault. Now, it's kind of crazy to me that he would say this, especially because pretty much anyone that follows hockey knows if you look at the Stars roster, it's a top-heavy roster where they have a sick first line of Benn, Seguin, and Radulov. And what they're actually lacking is a ton of forward depth. And for whatever reason, the CEO decided to lay into his two best forwards. So it makes no sense at all to me. I do know that they want them to be playing even better. They missed the playoffs the past 2 or 3 years, and every single time they were kind of just outside, so not getting a top pick, although they did luck into Heiskanen, and then also, of course, not making the playoffs. But even if you look at their stats this year, they're not as good as they have been in the past, but definitely not bad. So Seguin's on pace for how much he usually produces, 70 to 75 points. Benn's a little underperforming. He usually is in that 70 to 80 range. And with scoring being up this year, I think that's kind of amplifying them not having amazing years, it's just having decent years, and that's why the CEO came out and said this. But then, like I said, there is no depth after that first line. Next highest scoring player there is Spezza, who's averaging a point every other game. And then you have two defensemen in Heiskanen and Lindell. Klingberg would be up there too if he actually wasn't missing a bunch of time. So again, they have 3 defensemen outscoring most of the forwards. This team lacks depth. I do not understand calling out your 2 best players, especially holding a press conference to make sure it gets out to the media. I think you keep that behind closed doors. Now, the owner did say this isn't about trading anybody or firing anybody, so he tried to downplay it a bit. Benn and Seguin talked about it. They weren't too upset, but definitely not happy. And another thing that makes this comment even crazier is the fact that he actually said this after a win while the Stars were in a playoff spot. I believe at the time they had a wild card spot, and now they actually have a division spot. So I mean, they're in a playoff spot and you're causing drama when you don't need to be. It makes no sense to me. There's still half the season to go. Maybe they'll have a really strong second half. But I want to have some fun here, so we're going to see what would happen if the Stars end up missing the playoffs this year. I'd say right now it's about a 50-50 chance they make it. And then in the offseason, both Benn and Seguin ask for a trade. Say they feel disrespected by those comments, don't want to play for the organization anymore, if the organization doesn't, want them, whatever. And we'll see what the Stars could get back for both Benn and Seguin in a package deal. I feel like there's going to be a lot of teams that can't even afford to trade for the two, especially due to not only just their trade value, but also their salary cap hits. But it should be a lot of fun just kind of seeing the packages that Dallas could get back. Now, also to keep this realistic, I have the trade difficulty set to easy, as in-game either Benn or Seguin are on the trade block, which they would be in the summer if they both ask for a trade. Also right here you can see their trade value, so it's actually tied there with Heiskanen. Benn, 29 years old, 90 overall left winger, making $9.5 million for 7 more years. Seguin, 26-year-old, a 90 overall center, making just under 6 there for this year. And then he's actually signed almost $10 million for the next 8 years. So that is a big contract. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how this all unfolds. It's honestly on the GM, I'd say, more than Benn and Seguin. They're really blaming the 2 stars of the team for putting up 70 points opposed to 80 points, while the GM has failed to draft well or provide them with any forward depth. It's just ridiculous to me. But anyway, guys, that is it for signing this up. We're now going to get into the trades. Alright, guys, so for the first trade here, the Ducks are offering Getzlav Raquel, a 2019 first rounder, and Adam Henrique for Benn, Seguin, and Scarlett. Scarlett's just there for the roster spot. Also, too, guys, when I was adding somebody for the roster spot, I noticed Hansel's on this team, 77 overall in game, making just under $5 million for 2 more years. It's how can you complain about Benn and Seguin when you have Hansel here making almost $5 million and doing nothing? Yeah, Benn and Seguin are making almost double that, but they're producing, 10 times more? Or even take a guy like Milan Lucic, who's making $6 million a year, and I think he's only scored 2 goals since last Christmas, so that's Christmas 2017, and you haven't heard any of the Edmonton CEOs or anything say a word about Lucic, so I don't know, it's just crazy to me. Anyways, we'll see here what they say to this offer. You can see that the value is on our side, and as you can see there, Dallas Stars reject, so we'll see if we can give them somebody a little bit better than Henrique. Alright, guys, so after those first 2 trades didn't work, I'm now offering Dallas our 4 best players to try and get Benn, Seguin, Bishop. Getzlav, Raquel, I feel are not as good as Benn and Seguin. Gibson, though, much better than Bishop. Same goes for Lindholm, even more so, better than Polak. So if they say no to this, we could have a first-round pick, and that's about it, but then we would just be fleecing ourselves. We'll see what they say here, though. And the trade is accepted. Okay, so that was all that was going to get it done. Kind of crazy the price we had to pay. I feel Anaheim would definitely be better off not making that trade. Moving on to Arizona now, guys, offering up Chychrun, Galchenyuk, and Hayton for Benn, Seguin, and Polak. I've actually made Hayton better in this game than he usually is. I have him at high top 6 potential, just because I feel like he's a top 5 pick. Should be a bit better than medium top 6. The value's a bit on our side. Barely. This probably doesn't get it done. I think maybe if we add a first, though, it will. Oh, wow. They accepted that. I guess they did want all 3 things. So, what a trade for Arizona. Chychrun, Galchenyuk, and Hayton. Dallas, completely rebuilding. Chychrun's a young defenseman. They get 2 young centers. And Arizona now has Benn and Seguin. Put him on the top line with Clayton Keller. It's a solid trade. Now this one's kind of funny, guys. Boston offering up Marchand, Bergeron, and a first-round pick for Seguin and Benn. It would be kind of interesting to see Seguin go back to Boston. Now, obviously, Marchand and Bergeron both on better contracts, making around 6, opposed to Seguin and Benn will both be making like 9.5, but they're younger, 26 and 29, opposed to 33 and 30. So we're also adding a first-round pick. We'll see if that gets it done. And the trade's rejected. Okay, so even though it's better salary, Dallas doesn't want the older players. Let's try adding another first-round pick there in 2020. I feel like Pastrnak is probably like the best contract, and he's the youngest of all these guys, so I want to hold on to him. Same with McAvoy. And the 2 firsts, though, get it done. So that's an interesting one for sure. You're getting like more expensive deals, but you're getting younger players. Imagine that. Seguin goes back to Boston with Benn. That first line, though, with Pastrnak could honestly be even better than Bergeron and Marchand with Pastrnak. Next year, guys, are the Buffalo Sabres offering up Mittelstadt, Reinhart, Palmville, and Bogosian. Basically, it's Mittelstadt and Reinhart for Seguin and Benn. Palmville, Bogosian are just salary dumps. And honestly, it's not too bad. Like, Palmville's contract ends this year, Bogosian in 2 years. So $10 million, that's gone pretty quick. And then Reinhart and Mittelstadt, they're pretty cheap, especially compared to Benn and Seguin. And the value's actually on our side, I think. So we'll see what Dallas says here. Trade is rejected. The value is too far off. So let's see if we can add a first-round pick. We'll pretend this Buffalo team is in playoff contention, just like the one in real life. St. Louis is actually not going to be in the playoffs. Plus, they have San Jose's first-round pick. Jeez, so yeah, they could definitely afford to give up one of their 3 first-rounders. Let's see if this now gets it done. Still rejected. I don't want to absorb Bogosian's contract. Let's see if they'd be willing to take Okposo, though. He's a bit better, although making more money and on longer term, but maybe they think it's just more worth it. And there we go. They actually say yes with Okposo, who's tied up longer. So that's kind of interesting. I think that trade's honestly insane for Buffalo. All right, guys. Next up, we have a big trade-off from Calgary here. Noah Hanifin and Sean Monahan for Seguin and Benn. The value's about equal. They want both players. We'll see what they say. Trade's rejected. It says we have to sweeten the value just a touch. Calgary's got good enough defensive depth. They can afford to trade Hanifin. Seguin replaces Monahan, plus you're adding Jamie Benn. Let's just add like a... Okay, they don't have a second-round pick there, so let's do a second-round pick 2020. I feel like that should get it done. And there we go. I mean, Calgary is stacked after that. And next you guys are the Hurricanes, one of the few teams that can actually just take on Benn and Seguin's contract pretty much in full. So we're offering them 2 young players, entry-level deals, Svechnikov and Nikas. Obviously, they'd probably rather hold on to these guys, but if you're bringing in Seguin and Benn, maybe it's worth giving them up. Obviously, too, it gives Dallas a fresh start with a bunch of cap space. And Carolina doesn't have good enough defense to compete now, so they'd even have better forwards. You still have Aho, Teravainen, taking back Pollock there for the roster spot. We'll see what they say. And the trade's rejected. Don't think it's worth to take on the contract of Brett Pesce. I honestly didn't think Pesce's contract was that bad, but maybe we can put TVR there instead. As you can see, yeah, we still have the cap space. Kind of insane. Let's see what they say now. Trade rejected. Too far off. Okay, let's see. Maybe add a second-round pick. If not, add a first-round pick. Again, we're like Svechnikov and Nikas could turn out better than Seguin and Benn. I doubt it, though. Like, they're both pretty good players. I feel like that's kind of their ceiling. It's about equal, so we're just kind of fast-tracking. And with the second-round pick, it does get done. So, again, another interesting trade where you're kind of, like, giving up the future for the now, but you still get young players. So again, I feel like it's more of a fast track trade than anything else. And next year, guys, we're Chicago, probably making the biggest blockbuster yet. The 2 faces of that franchise, Patty Kane and Jonathan Toews, for Dallas 2 faces and Benn and Seguin. Won them 3 cups, time to move on. They're actually saving a bit of money here, getting back Benn and Seguin. They're going to be both making around $9.5 million, so saving $1 million on each player. Plus, they're both younger than Kane and Toews, which is why they have to add the second round pick. As Kane's contract's not too bad, but Toews as an 87, I think. Yeah, $10.5 million is a bit rich. So we'll see what Dallas says. They do want both players on the pick, and they reject that trade. Sweeten the value just a touch, though. Okay, so because Dallas is at 50-50, that's why we're just adding draft picks. Let's try a 2020 third rounder there, and it's still not going through. Okay, let's try a 2020 second rounder. They said just a touch, so shouldn't have to use any first round picks. And there you go. Imagine that trade going through. That would like completely shake up both franchises and in the same division. Probably never happens. And next, you guys are the Avalanche offering up Cale Makar, Gabe Landeskog, and the Ottawa Senators first round pick for Benn And Seguin. Obviously, if they made this trade right now, I mean, there's a good chance the Senators have a lottery pick. They were looking good, but then Shabbat got injured. But you're getting back Benn And Seguin and keeping McKinnon and Rantanen, so it's probably worth the risk. We'll see what Dallas says here. Trade rejected isn't sufficient at all. I mean, looking at the trade value bar there, it looks to be pretty equal. Maybe they hold on to the pick this year, add a first rounder next year. I'm trying to do it without adding like players on the other side if we don't need to. Let's see what they say to this. And the trade's going through. We're moving down Dries. I mean, that is pretty ridiculous. McKinnon, Rantanen one line, Seguin, Benn the other line. I don't know how you stop that. Next year, guys, you have the Blue Jackets offering up Panarin, Wenberg, and Murray. Panarin and Murray both need new deals. Good chance Panarin goes to UFA. Murray probably gets re-signed. So, I mean, they get back two awesome players in Benn And Seguin. Cap controlled, although it is an expensive cap. We'll see what Dallas says. The value's about equal. They want all three players. Trade rejected. Value's too far off. Just going to have a first round pick here. Maybe that gets it done. Still rejected. Value's a bit low for us. Okay, let's try 2022nd on top. I feel like, I don't know. I mean, obviously, there's a chance Panarin could walk on them, but assuming they sign Panarin Murray, the value's pretty good, especially with the picks. And there, finally goes through. I think that makes just Columbus even more of a powerhouse. Next year, guys, making a trade is Detroit, offering up Larkin, Zadina, and Nyquist. Obviously, I'd hate to see Larkin go, but I mean, getting back Seguin and Benn. Zadina, you're still not sure what he's going to turn into. Nyquist is kind of a rental. He's got 1 year left. It's not a bad trade at all. Let's see what they say. Trade accepted. Wow, I thought we were going to have to add like a first round pick, but I'm honestly kind of shocked that went through. And next year, guys, with the Edmonton Oilers, so I'm trying to get this trade done without moving McDavid. I feel like that'd at least be somewhat realistic, so offering up Draisaitl, Puljujarvi, and Lucic. Lucic is honestly there for the cap space, as otherwise the trade can't go through, and they want Lucic. So this would actually be, I think, a steal for Edmonton. They shed his contract. Draisaitl is really good, but him and Puljujarvi, I'd obviously rather Seguin and Benn. We'll see what Dallas says here. And they reject the trade. Value's a bit low. Let's add on a 2020 second round pick here. See if that gets it done. Now, it looks like it's fair value, but they don't want to take on Lucic's contract, so maybe instead we'll do Sekera. Now, having said that, they don't want him, but he does have more value than Lucic, so we'll see if that trade gets it through. And it does. So, I mean, look at that trade there. Sekera's been injured for the Oilers anyways. I mean, McDavid, Seguin, and Benn, that line would be the best line in hockey, hands down. Like, are you kidding me? Imagine that. Like, that line would just carry. It doesn't matter who else is on the team. Next year, guys, are the Panthers offering up Barkov, Dadonov, and Matheson for Seguin and Benn. I feel like Barkov's probably slightly better than Seguin, even though maybe not offensively, definitely defensively. But then Benn is a lot better than Dadonov, so that's why we have to add in Matheson. It'll be interesting to see kind of your guys' thoughts on this one. If it does go through, we could even have to add a pick onto it. Trade rejected. Not sufficient at all. I thought that was pretty good offer. I know a lot of people say how Barkov is so underrated. In this game, though, I made sure to boost him to high elite potential to give him kind of the rating he should have, at least the trade value. Okay, I'll try 2020 first because it said not sufficient at all. Let's see if that gets it done. And there we go. So, with the first round pick, we get the trade through. I'm not so sure about that one, though. And next year, guys, are the LA Kings, a team in desperate need of a shakeup, offering up Kopitar, Muzzin, and Jeff Carter there for Benn And Seguin. Even though the value's pretty equal, we're probably going to have to add a pick onto this. And yeah, trade's rejected. The value you're sending is not sufficient. So obviously, we're not going to trade our 2019 first. That could end up being Jack Hughes. 2020 first, we'll pretend it's lottery protected. Does that get the trade to go through? And it does. So that's another big trade. I mean, to get Benn And Seguin, every single one of these trades is basically going to be a blockbuster. This one here, I mean, you keep Doughty, so I feel like that's not too bad. And next, you guys have Minnesota trying to make another big trade, offering up Suter, Granlund, and Zucker. Obviously, Benn And Seguin just on another level than Granlund and Zucker would finally give something Minnesota's been lacking too, which is like a true kind of elite forward. I feel like Minnesota has a bunch of good forwards, but no great forwards. Granlund's probably the closest thing they have to that. And then Suter is a very good number one defenseman, but he's getting up there in age. And I think we honestly have to include him just for the cap. And we do know too, in this game at least, he always goes down in rating pretty quick. So the value's about equal. We'll see if this gets it done. No picks. If it doesn't, we'll add a couple on. Trade rejected. Let's try adding the protected first round pick back on. Obviously, Dubnyk to Bishop's a bit of a downgrade, but we get to keep Granlund. opposed to Stahl. And that doesn't get it done. Are you kidding me? So, I guess we're going to have to add Granlund back to this trade. I feel like Minnesota's just getting screwed here. We're basically adding all of our best stuff. This has to get the trade done, right? No, it still doesn't. Alright, so it looks like Stahl to Dumba. At that point, it's literally our best offer. 3 highest value skaters, highest value goalie, and a first round pick. See what Dallas says. So this trade goes through, but Minnesota loses their top D pair. I think this is probably the worst trade yet for a team. And this next trade here, guys, from Montreal could honestly be a really good one. So they're giving up Price, but getting back Bishop, who I think at half the price is honestly better value. Price is the better goalie, but I mean, Bishop is half the price. I think that makes sense. Kotkaniemi, 3rd overall, but you're getting back Benn And Seguin, and then all you're getting up on top of that is Petrie and a first-round pick. I honestly really like this trade for Montreal. They finally, too, get a first-line center, a true one in Seguin. Plus, they're getting Ben with that and Bishop. Like, it's a pretty good trade for them if this goes through. We'll see what Dallas says. Trade rejected. The value's just a bit low. Okay, so we're actually pretty close, which is a good thing. So they have 2 second-round picks this year as well. We'll also add the Islanders second there and see if it makes it go through. And it does. We're moving down Sherbak, calling up Jordy Ben. Or, yeah, I'm assuming we're calling up Jordy Ben, so that's kind of cool. I forgot we had him. So we actually reunited the Ben brothers. Honestly, I think that's such a good trade for Montreal. They still have a solid number 1 goalie in Bishop, and they now have Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn. Like, they're definitely a better team from that trade. Alright, guys, so next we have the Predators offering up Tolvanen, Johansson, Smith, a first-rounder, and Saros. I mean, Saros is a backup goalie. They still have Rene. First-rounder doesn't really matter since Preds are stacked. They're going to the playoffs. Smith's kind of a salary dump. Johansson at $8 million, so honestly, such an overpayment for him at 85 overall, so an extra $1.5 million for Seguin, such a good deal. And then Tolvanen looks solid at the World Juniors, but, I mean, Jamie Benn's Jamie Benn. So, I like this trade for Nashville. It goes through. Pretty equal value. Let's see what Dallas says here. Trade rejected. Isn't sufficient at all. Okay, so instead of Craig Smith, we could just upgrade him to somebody that's got a bit more value. I didn't really want to trade one of our defensemen. Probably going to have to. Fiala we could move. I don't know if it would actually work, though, in terms of the cap space. Who would they want to trade? Would they trade Ekholm or Ellis first? I feel like Ellis with the big cap. Maybe they'd probably trade Ekholm before Ellis, right? So let's try this. I feel like this probably goes through. And there we go. As you can see, trade went through. I mean, Nashville's already a stacked team. We keep Rene, keep Subban and Yossi, add on Benn And Seguin to play on the first line with like Forsberg. Pretty nasty. Next year, guys, we have the Devils. And looking at their players, I feel like the only options, honestly, Hischier and Hall. After that, like, we'd have to combine a bunch of those guys, which I don't think is going to work. And then in terms of goalies, Schneider's value just isn't there. So, I mean, Hall and Hischier for Benn And Seguin. The Devils do have the cap space. Who do you think is the better duo? It's probably Benn And Seguin. I'll see what Dallas says to this offer. They say no. Need to sweeten the value just a touch. Honestly, if it costs us less than a first-round pick, I don't think it's that terrible of an offer, especially Hall needs a new deal in like 2 years, I think. He's going to be getting Seguin money as well. And then Hischier, it depends how he plays the next couple seasons. But, yeah, with a second-round pick there, honestly, I don't think that's too bad of a trade for the Devils. And next year, guys, are the Islanders offering up Barzal, Wallstrom, and Eberle for Benn And Seguin. Obviously, Barzal's probably got the most value of everybody. But, I mean, Benn And Seguin, I think, are the 2 best players there, at least right now. Best track record. So it looks to be pretty equal value. We'll see what they say here. Wow, trade accepted. So that's one where I think it could go either way. All right, guys, so right here's the trade we're trying to make as the Rangers offering up Krasov, Zibanejad, and Shea for Benn And Seguin. Obviously, a lot to give up, but I mean, Sagan's better than Zibanejad. Ben is basically like what Krasov's ceiling is. So best case scenario, Krasov becomes Jamie Benn. And then Brady Shea, they're obviously a good young defenseman. We'll see what Dallas says. The value is on our side by quite a bit. And trade is rejected. Wow. I thought that would for sure go through. I feel like if we add a first-round pick, that should get it done. We'll say it's a lottery-protected first-round pick again. And still rejected. We'll see if they say yes now with 2 first-round picks. If they don't, I honestly don't think we'll really get the trade done, as that's our 3 highest-value skaters with 2 first-round picks on top. And they do say yes to that, okay. Honestly, I think that was the best offer we could make, so almost had the first team that couldn't get the trade to go through. And next year, guys, we have the Senators offering up Brady Tkachuk and Mark Stone with San Jose's first-round pick in 2020 for Seguin and Benn. If they end up finding out, like, Stone's not going to resign, this actually could be a great trade for them. We'll see what Dallas says, though. Trades rejected. The value is not sufficient at all. I mean, we have our own first round pick in 2020, which has a lot more value, so could just try doing that. Maybe that'll get to go through. And it does. So, again, still think it's a pretty solid trade. Next, you guys are the Flyers offering up Nolan Patrick along with Voracek, along with getting a solid prospect for Benn And Seguin. So, I mean, Patrick, maybe he's a bust, maybe not. Definitely too early to tell. Voracek's pretty similar in value to Benn. I think Benn's is slightly more just because scores about the same, but he also adds that kind of power forward element. So we'll see what Dallas says to this trade offer. And they accept it. Honestly, I think that's not too bad of a trade for Philly. They do have a decent amount of cap space too, so they should be able to afford both contracts. And next you guys see the Penguins really shaking up the team, offering Malkin, Mata, and Hornqvist there for Benn And Seguin. And there was actually a rumor I remember back in the day about Malkin going to the Stars. I think it was before they got Seguin. They needed a first-line center. Gonchar was still there, so there was that connection. We'll see if that trade happens now. And trades rejected. Value setting isn't sufficient. I mean, I think it's pretty sufficient. Let's see if maybe we can add like a first-round pick or something. Could also do like Kessel, Letang, and extras, but I feel like it's going to be pretty tough, especially with the cap situation. So let's see if just adding the first gets to go through. Still getting rejected. That's kind of insane. Alright guys, so I just added this Hallander prospect onto this trade as well. We'll see if Dallas now says yes. And they do. So I mean, huge trade there from Pittsburgh. I mean, they lost of getting Malkin, but Seguin and Benn are both younger. And I feel like Seguin and Benn are probably better than Malkin plus a couple extras. That's a tough one. And next you guys are the Sharks offering up Carlson, Couture, and Chmelevski for Benn And Seguin. Obviously, Carlson could walk in free agency this summer. I'm still not sure if he's going to. I feel like probably. I mean, why not? And then Couture here is actually extended at $8 million, so only $1 million less than both Seguin and Benn, and I feel like they're both better than Couture. Chmelevski, there's a solid prospect. We'll see what Dallas says here. Trades rejected. The value isn't sufficient at all. I thought it might be a bit off. Let's see if we can add on like a first-round pick here. Don't have one this year. Or next year. Okay, that's going to make it a bit tougher. 2021 first rounder, though. Maybe that gets it to go through. Still rejected. They did say we only needed to sweeten the value a touch, so add a 2019 second there. See if that makes it happen. And there we go. So, I mean, we lose Carlson, but on San Jose, he hasn't looked as good as he was on Ottawa. They still have Brent Burns, and now they have a Seguin and Benn. I mean, I think that's a decent trade for San Jose. And next you guys are the St. Louis Blues, another team in dire need of a shakeup. So this is a pretty even 2-for-2 trade, offering Tarasenko and O'Reilly for Benn And Seguin. O'Reilly has been playing good for the Blues, but obviously something's not working there. So if Dallas wants a shakeup, so does the Blues. Maybe both teams do this. We'll see what they say. And the trade's rejected. I thought that was pretty fair. I feel like if we had a second round pick, I don't know how this doesn't go through. I mean, our two players are actually both on cheaper contracts. We'll do a 2020 second rounder there. Should make it happen. And trade is accepted. And like I was saying, I feel like this is one that's pretty fair. Maybe even Dallas wins just because the two players that they got were both cheaper. And right here, guys, the trade I came up with as the Tampa Bay Lightning, offering up Miller, Palat, Killorn, and McDonough along with the first round pick for Benn And Seguin. Basically, it's tough because Tampa's right against the cap, so to fit in like $18 million next year, you're going to lose a lot of players. I wanted to keep Stamkos, Kucherov, and Hedman. The value's about equal, but I feel like we might have to add on to it. We'll see what they say. Yeah, trades rejected, so probably have to replace the first with Sergachev, which kind of sucks. We're losing a ton of depth, but I feel like Tampa Bay would probably rather do that than lose like one of their big three. Plus, they're still keeping Braden Point for this year, and then I guess they just hope they can get him at like a super cap-friendly deal next year. Losing a lot of depth, especially on D, since we're only getting back two forwards. The defensive extras don't really matter, and yeah, that does get to go through, but I don't know if I like that trade for Tampa. Alright guys, so here's the offer I'm making as the Maple Leafs. Nylander, Liljegren, and Zaitsev for Benn And Seguin. Honestly, this is such a steal for the Maple Leafs. Like, the fact they can't even do this with the cap space is kind of unreal. We'll see what Dallas says. I think this first one gets rejected, and it does, but maybe if we had a first round pick here, it'll go through. I mean, they're losing a bit of defense. I mean, Liljegren's in the AHL. Zaitsev, I feel like they can replace, and then Benn's better than Nylander, and then just Seguin on top of that. It's kind of insane. I'll see what they say to this trade. And trade is accepted. So obviously they're going to be having to do some crazy like crunching of the cap next season. Re-signing Matthews and Marner both to like team-friendly deals. Seguin's going to be making almost 10. Ben's already at 9.5. Tavares 11. But I think it's somehow find a way to get it done. Like, that top six there is ridiculous. Next year, guys, are the Canucks offering up Demko, Horvat, Tanev, and a first-round pick. I feel like with DiPietro, playing so well, they can definitely afford to trade one of the two goalies. And if they're getting back Seguin and Benn, definitely speeds up the rebuild. Plus, they have a ton of cap space. So, we'll see what Dallas says here. The values, I think, equal, maybe even on our side. And Dallas says no. Value's too far off. I mean, could offer up 2 first-round picks. Either that, or we have to use Quinn Hughes, Peterson, or Besser. I'd rather not have to trade. Vancouver never seems to win the lottery anyway, so we'll do 2 firsts there. And that still gets rejected. Okay. So even though I didn't want to, I had to add Quinn Hughes to this, as the 2 firsts and Tanev weren't working. We'll see what they say now. Trades rejected. I think they said like it's a bit closer, so we'll do Hughes there with a first-round pick. I mean, as long as we're keeping Peterson and Besser, definitely makes this team good. And as you can see there, trades going through. Obviously didn't want to include Hughes, but still not too bad of an offer. And next you guys are the Vegas Golden Knights, having to offer up Theodore, Carlson, Marchessault, and Tuch, all for Seguin and Benn. Unfortunately, they have like no one actually that has like a lot of value on their own, so we just have to kind of combine a bunch of people. We'll see if this goes through. If not, I think it should if we add a first-round pick. So yeah, rejected. The value just isn't where it needs to be. So hopefully the first gets it done. Otherwise, it's going to be pretty tough to make this happen. I'll probably have to use Fleury instead of somebody. See what they say to this, though. Trades rejected still. Okay, so I think Tuch had the least amount of value of those guys. So we'll add Fleury on. Because we're adding Fleury, we'll take a goalie back from Dallas. So hopefully this trade goes through. Otherwise, it'd be the first team that can make a trade happen. Trade rejected. Honestly, I don't think we can make a trade. Fleury's the highest value player on this team. Those 3 guys there are the highest value skaters. A first-round pick. Actually, Cody Glass might have more value than the first. So I think that's probably the last trade offer we can make. Yeah, he does actually have the most value technically, like just. So we'll add Glass on and then some player that they don't want. If this doesn't work though, then yeah, we are kind of out of options. We'll take back Polak there. Alright, so value's so far on our side. This is such a bad trade, but we're just trying to see like what it would take for each team. We'll see what they say. Trade rejected. So yeah, that's our 5 best players there. I guess Vegas can't make the trade happen. Next year, guys, you have Washington making a big offer. So the trades Kuznetsov, Backstrom, and Niskanen for Benn, Seguin, and Honka. Had to include these guys just for the cap reasons, as Washington's right up against it. And then with Seguin getting the raise next year, also makes it tough. The values are about equal. We'll see what Dallas says. Trades accepted. Okay, so we do get Honka back to replace Niskanen. Seguin and Benn for Kuznetsov and Backstrom's pretty much even, so not terrible. And finally, guys, we have the Jets here offering up Ehlers, Vesalainen, and Little for Benn and Seguin. Obviously, Benn and Seguin definitely an upgrade on Little and Ehlers, which is why Winnipeg has to also give up Vesalainen. Salary cap actually works too. They'll probably end up having to lose Myers or Trouba, but they could trade one of them for picks or something at the deadline. Value's pretty even, so I think this might go through. And trade rejected. Value's a little bit too far off. Okay, so let's just add like a draft pick here. Winnipeg obviously is in the playoffs, so their first rounder is not too big of a deal. Let's see if Dallas now says yes. They still say no. Have to sweeten the deal just a touch. Okay, I mean, I think this makes Winnipeg absolutely stacked, so add the 2020 second round pick on top of that. Hopefully now the trade goes through, and it does. So there we go. Obviously going to have a lot of cap problems next season, kind of just like Toronto, but in the meantime, the team is ridiculously stacked. I just realized too, you know how the rock, paper, scissors buddies united and Scheifele and Seguin, and I mean, look at their top 6. So line A, Scheifele, Benn could be a line, and then Seguin, Wheeler, Connor's another. Defense is still intact. Pretty insane. And like I was saying, guys, that is the last trade here for the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Love to hear from you what you thought about your team's trade. Would you make it for Benn and Seguin? Let me know in the comments section. Other than that, thank you guys as always for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a thumbs up. Have a nice day, guys. Goodbye.